Hello all. Welcome to the new video. So last week I gave a DevOps SRE interview, and honestly it was not what I expected. I thought they would ask basic questions like Linux command, AWS services, but instead they gave me a real world problems you actually face in productions. At one point they asked me, your application is down. What will you do? And for a moment I paused. Not because I didn't know the answer, but because I realized something important in DevOps interviews. It's not about what you think, it's about how you think. In this video, I am going to share the exact questions they asked me. So first, I will go through the process, okay? How I got a call, from where I applied, and how much rounds are there in this process, and what HR asked me. So I applied through their career site, okay, for the role of SRE engineer, 3 years of experience. So after a few days, I got a call from their HR for screening round. So in the initial screening, HR asked me about tools and technology on which I have worked on, CTC expectations, notice period, location, and why you are leaving your current organization. So after that, she scheduled my second round after 2 days. So in this second technical interview round, there were two people. One is senior engineer expert, and one manager, and one HR representative. This round is mostly focused on Linux shell scripting, basic AWS, and some of the Terraform questions. Mostly they asked me about troubleshooting questions. So after that, there are a second technical round. There are two persons there in this second round, and it is face to face in their ICE office, Intercontinental Exchange Office, Pune. So they both people are means one is technical expert, he is also manager, and one is senior manager. In this interview, they mostly focus on cloud and Terraform and day-to-day SRE work. So yeah, I will go through all the questions they asked me in first round and in second round. So here are the questions from the first round. So they directly started. They first asked me to introduce myself and my day-to-day activities, and after they directly started from Linux, they asked me first questions. Which command will you use to check the CPU status? Okay, and after that, they asked me some of the options about that command. So after this first basic questions, CPU status, they move to the real scenario. Okay. Uh, like if your disk is full, how will you check? And what will happen if the disk is 100% full? So yeah, I answered this question, and after that they asked me cross questions. What is the difference between du and df commands? And they asked me their options also, like du-sh. What df is used for? What is the difference between du and df? After the person who is taking interview, and second one is just observing me, who is the lead and manager. After that, he asked me what is the zombie process and how will you identify it. So this is the fourth question he asked me. Fifth question is how will you check all running processes. So there are two commands, ps-ef and ps-aux. These both commands I explained them. After that, he asked me one question. It is also for about troubleshooting. If your application that is deployed on Docker is down, how will you troubleshoot it? So he asked me all the commands and scenarios. How will you check logs? And how will you go into that container? He asked me about that. Seventh question is if you any service is down, how will you check logs? And if the log file is empty, how will you check? So he was checking my real knowledge if I have faced any issue like this or I have really worked on this type of scenarios. So after that, first person asked me to write a shell script to check if a server is up or down. So I wrote there one basic script to check on for only one host script. He asked me to modify that script and write for multiple servers. If there is a server list in one file, how will you check that servers are up or down? So I answered that. I wrote that both script. So after that, the second person who is observing me, uh, he asked me to write a script to replace IP addresses and port numbers across multiple servers by logging into those servers. I have created a video on this question also. So it is simple and basic script. Okay, so you can watch that video. So in this round, they asked me about some AWS questions also, like what is an IAM role in AWS and how it is different from an IAM user. What is AWS Route 53 and DNS record types? What is load balancer and type of load balancers? What is VPC, public subnet, private subnet, NAT gateway? What are other ways to access private subnet and NAT gateway? After I answered this question, VPC, and after that he asked me what are the other ways to access private subnet. Like we have Bastion host, and one more option is there. So I answered that question also. So next question he asked me, if your user wants to download an image stored in database, explain the complete request flow. So he wanted to check my knowledge about real architecture. So I explain him like when a user will hit a request, it will go to the about 53 load balancer, and after that it will go to the VPC and to the front end, back end, and then database. I explained this in detail. So after that, he asked me, if a networking team member wants to access S3 bucket, how will you give them a temporary access? So I told him about IAM roles, and he instantly told me, don't use IAM role here. So how will you give access to the network team for temporary time? So there is one option is there for this access, pre-signed using pre-signed URL. So using pre-signed URL, you can give access for a temporary time to the AWS S3 bucket. Okay. So after that, he asked me if you want to create an application using three-tier architecture, which AWS services will you use and how will you deploy the application? So I explained him all the three layers of architecture. I have created a video on this also. Okay, 6 minute video is there. I have explained every services and flow of the architecture. You can watch that video. So there is one question for from Terraform. What is Terraform drift and how will you resolve it? Okay, so yeah, I answered him deeply this question, and after that he stopped. And the second person asked me about monitoring. Okay, so in monitoring, he asked me, have you implemented monitoring using AWS CloudWatch and Grafana? And which tools you are using for monitoring? These are all the questions they asked me. And after these questions, manager asked me, do you have any offer in hand? And what is your notice period? And what are your salary expectations? He asked me directly in the first round itself. So these are the first round interview question. After 2 days, the HR called me for the second round face to face. And in second round, their focus was mostly on Terraform and AWS. Okay, so when I went there for the face to face interview, there were two managers sitting there. Okay, and the first manager checked my resume and he went through it all, and he saw Terraform certification, ASICOPS certification on my resume, and he started from directly Terraform. He asked me directly, how will you create instance? He asked me full flow of that and the full folder structure of that Terraform Terraform files. Okay, so yeah, we started from directly here. After that, he asked me, how will you check application logs? Okay, and after that, he asked me what is zombie process and how you will kill that process. After that, he again asks if your CPU utilization is 100%, how will you check and what will you check? So these three are only questions they asked me from the Linux, and their focus is on AWS and Terraform mostly. So after that, he asked me what is ARN, what is useful for. So I answered him. Okay. So he asked me another question, fourth question. How will you create infra for multiple environments using same Terraform configuration? So I explained him about workspaces and folder structure for multiple environments. And in those folder structure, there will be a separate TF state file for different environments. So another question is from Terraform. How will you pass environments to the Terraform sources? Okay. So next question is if you want to create resources in multiple regions, how will you do that? So for that, we can create AWS aliases, provider aliases. Using that, we can write multiple provider blocks, and in that we will create alias for different regions. So like that, we can create multiple resources in multiple regions. So he asked me one scenario based questions. How will you create and deploy your static website in S3, and what are all the services you will use for that, and how will you make it public? So this is one of the interview questions. This will be asked in most the interviews. Okay, there is one question also, so we will add here question 9. So this question is like how will you set up alerts using So yeah, this question he asked me, how will you set up alerts using Terraform on CloudWatch? So I answered him that will in main.tf file will create SNS topic. We'll write a resource in that, like a resource AWS SNS topic alert. Okay, we'll give name to that alert, and in another resource block, we'll create a email subscription. Okay, so and we'll write another resource block. In that, we will create AWS CloudWatch metric alarm, CPU alarm. In that CPU alarm, we'll write all the details like alarm name, metric name, threshold. So I explain him. After that, this question he asked me what is SNS topic. So and I answered all these questions. Okay. So there are some other questions also. There is one another manager also. He asked me, how will you set up monitoring using Prometheus and Grafana? What is node exporter? How will you create ticket in BMC? Major issues you faced recently and ticket you resolved. And at the last, he asked me what is SLO, SLI, and SLA in SRE. So yeah, also he told me that you have weighed these three concepts just for interview purpose, because my resume is mostly focused on DevOps role. Okay, and these things are not mentioned there. Yeah, so these were the exact questions they asked me in the interview. These are the real interview questions. So yeah, that's all. You can download this interview questions file from our Telegram channel. Link will be attached in description of this video. Yeah, so I will be sharing more interview experiences like this on this channel. So also I will be creating videos for these question answers and will share these questions with you. For the more videos like this, questions and answers and interview experiences, please like, share, and subscribe the channel and be updated on our Telegram channel. I'll be sharing more videos like this and more questions like this. Thank you.